I'm Rowan Wakefield from Dev Academy, one of the co-founders. Joshua is also here as well. Dev Academy is an intensive web development bootcamp. We take people with little or no background in web development and give them that technical foundation to be able to get that first step in the door in a technical career. And we help them do that as well. Through an 18-week bootcamp, immersive, fun, and intense. It's great. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is some of the fun that the team has gone through in setting their own salaries. It's been a fantastic thing, something that we knew not a huge amount about. We'd seen the great work that Morningstar had done, and we'd followed a number of companies that had gone through this process. And for us, we are a company that is trying to be as innovative as possible and using the word open in a way to really push that as far as we can. And this was a big part of it. So I want to talk very briefly about the process of the process of setting our own salaries, and then some of the outcomes or some of the observations that we had. So the process started a bit like this, and it was very much like, hey, we should jump into a room and think about our salaries, and we don't want to be, as founders, we don't want to be saying what you're going to get paid. We would much prefer you to tell us and everyone in our organization what you think you should be paid. Now, think about that for a moment, and think about where you work and what you'd say, because that's quite an interesting thing to think about. How do you evaluate what you're worth, and how do you come to that figure? And then how do you share that with the group? So what we did is we wrote this down in a spreadsheet next to our names, and then we came into a room and we discussed that. Let's backtrack. We did formulate a team of 3 that were called the remuneration team. They were the team that guided an individual through the process of setting their own salary. But once that had been set, we then went into a room and talked about those salaries, and we had a feedback session. That was the first iteration, and then we went back out, and we might have rejigged them a little bit, and then we came back into the room and had another discussion. And from there, we also had an anonymous feedback session, which was really to iron out those things that we weren't seeing across the floor that were maybe people didn't feel quite comfortable enough to say something in the room when people were there. And the last iteration was, okay, we're happy now. Now, we also had a process of if there was any conflict, if there was anything that really did not sit with 2 or more people, we did have a process of a conflict resolution. We didn't need this because we didn't have it. So we haven't quite finalized the process, but from one of the outcomes, or a number of the outcomes, were quite interesting. One was we had really poor visibility of what people did in our small company of 15 at the time, which was unusual. But we are a startup and we are growing, so we just thought amongst 15 people we must know what each of us do, but we didn't. So that was really interesting. The other thing was, how do you define your salary? Do you think, oh, well, if I was out in the real world, not in a startup, I'd get this? Or do you think, well, the impact of my involvement in this company generates this amount of revenue, therefore I should be paid that? Or I've been in this job for 16 years, I should be paid this. Now, all of these things were really important things that came up in our business. And what it meant was that we all thought about our business in a collective way. We all thought about these things, but we were all empowered to steer our ship in a direction by being part of these conversations. Now, at Dev Academy, we're not going to stop here, where there are other things that we will open up and be transparent as possible. It is our goal to really, I suppose, see how far we can take that in the name of being innovative and in the name of empowering our staff. If you want to talk to me about this, I'd love to talk to you about it. If you want to talk to me about Dev Academy, I'd love to talk to you about it, as would Joshua, I'm sure. Thanks a lot.